Hi, today we're going to show you how you can combine MuleSoft's Anypoint Platform and APIMatic to enhance the developer experience. Let's start by first logging into APIMatic. I click on Login, and then I click on Login with Anypoint Platform. Now this is where I put the credentials in, and then I click on Sign In. You're here at APIMatic dashboard. Now, the APIMatic dashboard is the place where all the APIs that you'll be working with in APIMatic, they're going to appear here. Now let's move to Anypoint Platform. In the Exchange, let's click on Discover and Share. And let's import our first asset. So it's going to be a Swagger per store file. So I've imported the file and now I'm publishing it. Click on Publish. And my asset is now published on the Exchange. So I go back, let me refresh this. So as you can see, we have a Swagger per store file here on the Exchange now. Now let's move on to the APIMatic dashboard and let's click on Sync Anypoint. It syncs up the dashboard with the Exchange, and now we have this Anypoint API here on our dashboard as well. So now, before generating the SDK, if you want to configure it or make some changes in the settings, for that we click on Configure SDK. I select the API version and I click on Edit. And then it takes me to this CodeGen editor or the CodeGen settings. So here we have generic code styling settings, configuration settings, continuous integration settings, endpoint settings, model settings, etc. And by tweaking around these settings, you can change the behavior or add additional functionality in the SDK. So once you're done making these changes, you click on generate. It validates the API spec, gives you any errors or warnings if there are any, and then you click on proceed. So now we have these different ways of giving out documentation in SDKs. You can download it as a zip, deploy it over to GitHub, or push it to package publishing repositories, say NPM or PyPy. Now let's click on API portal, preview API portal, and it takes you to this bare bones version of the documentation that is generated. So I click on customize/publish, and it takes me to the documentation editor. So here I can change the look and feel of the documentation solution. I can select the number of languages for which I want to give out the SDKs. And so once I'm done making these changes, I can click on publish, and let's go with host Anypoint demo. I click done. And now my SDK and documentation solution is published on this URL. I click on it and it takes me to this API documentation page. So a developer comes in, clicks on get started, and they arrive here at the API documentation. They can export the API specification file in any of these formats, download the SDK, and get started with it by following these how to build, how to use guides. So if a developer is comfortable with Java, they select Java, and the entire portal pivots around that particular language. So now let's move on to the endpoint level documentation. I select an endpoint. I have the code sample for that particular endpoint on the right, the documentation for it in the middle, and we have this console. So if I write something in the console, that change is going to be reflected in the code sample on the right as well. So these are dynamic code samples. So another thing, so when I click on configure and then show complete file, it adds the imports, the classes, the authentication code, pretty much everything that I need in order to just copy this code, paste it into my compiler, and run it as it is. And then if I give in my authentication credentials, I can actually call out this endpoint by using the try out functionality. So it makes a live call to the server on which the API is hosted, and it brings you back a valid JSON response. So this is pretty much it. You can embed this documentation SDK solution in your Anypoint developer portals. So yeah, if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.